I don't think you're Alex Green. I don't think you're Alex Green.
Okay, so you're saying that the company with our registered office is lying on our behalf as well, just so I can get that clear.
Almost 6 months ago, in April of 2014, people started noticing some serious problems with one of the most important and largest participants in the Dogecoin space, a company called Moolah.io. At the time, I had tips from a number of people about weird shenanigans going on within Moolah, as well as concerns that the founder of Moolah was not who they claimed to be, that certain activities seemed to be scammy in nature, and that investors might be being used to fund various operational activities, including marketing schemes to ingratiate the Dogecoin community. At the time, a number of people went on Reddit and blew the whistle pretty loud. And a lot of those warnings went unheeded. Now, 6 months later, Moolah.io has exploded. The founder, Alex Green, aka Ryan Kennedy, aka Ryan Gentle, has disappeared. Joining us today, Ben Doernberg, one of the people who the Dogecoin Foundation in disgust during the time when these things were being passed back in April, and was one of the people who made a lot of noise about Moolah, leading to personal threats against him by Alex Green, as well as a lot of negative response by the community. Seems like Ben was right. Ben, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Moolah first came on the scene back in January. At the time, they were a Swiss company that was selling Bitcoin to fiat ATMs, which, they've still never shipped. Gradually, they sort of grew their presence on the Dogecoin subreddit and in the Dogecoin community, and they expanded to running a wallet service and an escrow service and a merchant platform and about 15 other businesses. And then now today we sit where all of those businesses have shut. MintPal, which they were operating, has shut down, and a lot of people are out a lot of money, so it's a sad situation.
Ben, what were some of the first red flags or warning signs that made you start to think twice about this?
Well, the first one was that he said that no one could see his face because he had really bad health problems and anxiety, and also had received a lot of death threats, and also was involved in a messy custody dispute. And so no one could know what he looked like.
Right, going back to degree level, way back when dinosaurs roamed the earth. It's legal psychology, essentially. It's the study of the criminal mind and the psychosis surrounding it, why people do bad things. So, I've got 25 years of programming experience now, so quite a bit. Went into telecommunications for a while, working underlying architecture infrastructure. These are for... Then moved into financial systems, did a lot of work with Citibank, underlying internet banking architecture, security, how do we stop customers from losing funds. The only reason we have kept costs down is because I have such a high development background. I can program in any language with my eyes closed. It's what I do.
Is there, I understand you want to keep your address private. Is there any way you can show us, an ID with the...
No, at that point you are crossing lines and it falls into the realms of harassment, Ben. You cannot legally ask that of a business representative unless you're a member of a regulatory body.
If you can confirm, yes, your name is Alex Green legally, which I'm fairly certain it is.
Confirmed?
I know Alex. I know you are Alex Green, who has worked for Telefonica and Citibank, so I'm sure that if I followed enough leads, I could probably track you.
I doubt that. Much like if I called Adobe and asked if you worked there, they tell me to go away. I don't know in the US, but in the UK, confidentiality of it is very harsh. Like
Yeah.
the papers,
So,
for instance,
Alex-
can stop stuff from being made
Alex-
public.
There'd be a paper trail, I'm sure. But it's,
probably.
Hold on one second. So, just
for
because this is my last opportunity to talk to any of you guys, and after this, I will not contact you. But I'm very unsatisfied, and unless Jackson gets some kind of proof of your identity, Alex, then I think I will have to resign in protest. And
So you're throwing your toys out of the pram, essentially. That is your prerogative.
Yeah, he's been scamming people steadily for, it looks like, about 10 years, and also has a very checkered past. He's been accused of a lot of domestic violence and other things. So it's pretty clear that this is not his first rodeo. This is not someone who became a scammer because of Bitcoin. This is someone who is essentially a professional social engineer and scammer.
So I assume this wasn't known when people were, trusting him and using his services and things like that. How did this wind up coming out? I mean, was it suddenly just a big dump of documents, or did somebody have to really ferret this out?
We're lucky that, because of the questions that were raised, Alex was forced to have that Skype conversation with Jackson and I. He was trying to not let people find out what he looked like, but we were able to get him to do a Skype conversation. I released that video, and so we had a picture of his face. And when an article came out about a week ago, when Ryan first said, "Oh, sorry, Moolah is out of money and we're closing down," there's an article in TechCrunch that linked to another article with his face on it. Poetically, someone that he had scammed and screwed over in the past recognized his face. They sent an email to Jackson saying, "This guy you've been dealing with is actually, I recognize him. That's Ryan Kennedy." And as soon as we found that, we just Googled the name, and it came up with a very thorough Encyclopedia Dramatica page about all of his different identities and scams, and a big picture of him with caption, "Don't believe the lies."
I also have it confirmed from a Reddit administrator. If you publicly demand personal information of me or any member of my company, your account will be banned.
And so from there, Jackson and I wrote up a summary demonstrating that this was the same person and cross-referencing photos, and I posted that to Reddit, and I actually got banned from all of Reddit for posting personal information while Ryan's account is still active, but I did end reinstated yesterday. So
now I remember back when we first had this in April, you were being threatened not just by random people on Reddit, but also very explicitly and specifically by Alex Green himself.
Because at the end of the day, it's a waste of my time. You are not a member of a regulatory body. You are not a member of any compliance agency, and you are now falling into the realm of harassing a company and its officers. Do you understand the legal ramifications of that?
I do not believe I'm harassing you. I think that's
I'm
not
sorry,
accurate.
you are now harassing the CEO of a company in regards to demanding information he is not legally obligated to provide. I advise you, Ben, if you continue, that you seek the legal advice of a professional solicitor. Because myself and Landon will be doing the same, Landon in the US, myself in the UK. And if we feel at all that you're harassing myself, members of my team, my company, defaming us in a way at all deemed illegal, in the US, defamation is a big thing, then I will take the necessary action, because I think you've seen some of the posts from my investors telling you that you are damaging their investment. And I don't think they're that happy either. Do you have any proof of evidence of wrongdoing at all? No, you do not a single bit. Have we gone above and beyond what we are legally obligated to provide? Yes, we have. Are you making now demands that any company would essentially tell you to go fuck yourself with? Yes, you have. Demanding, personal property records, was it that you were asking for? That is crossing a line. In the UK, demanding that would be construed as harassment. I do not know in the US, but if you're in the UK, I could have you in a small claims court by the end of the week, because it is not acceptable.
Right. So Ryan threatened to sue me. He threatened to sue the foundation, because we wouldn't let him into the foundation. And essentially, Ryan was threatening Jackson that if I did anything, he would sue Jackson.
Jackson, I'm going to have to tell you now that we will have to make a public press release in regards to we're now being accused by your foundation that I'm not a real person. That has now crossed into dangerous territory. And at this point, Ben, if you publicly say that, I will drag your ass through a court for defamation and you'll be fucked. That is your choice. I'll be honest, you'll run out of money long before I do.
He also made some kind of veiled threats to the extent where, other members of the foundation were under the impression that he might have been threatening to take extra legal action against us.
Ben, at the end of the day, even if you don't go away forever, it's not a problem to us. You have no control or authority at the end of the day. And if you cause problem, it's going to end badly for you. Not, it's not a threat, but in the eyes of the law, there are certain things you cannot do.
I didn't really buy it. I didn't think he was going to sue anybody or hire anybody because I thought he was all talk. But yeah, he threatened me. A lot of people in the Dogecoin community who had ties to Alex put a lot of pressure on me in different ways.
You already posted. Everyone is already assuming what you posted was from the foundation. I'm not sure how Jackson feels that, remember, the foundation was actively posting the things that you did, because I'll be honest, it makes the foundation look like a bunch of kids. It was absolutely pointless, which is why the sentimentality against you was negative and the sentimentality in our favor was overwhelmingly positive.
Sure.
Because at the end of the day, we've done what we need to do, and you have crossed a number of boundaries.
Yeah, it just seems very suspicious to me. It seems like a very...
Well, I'm sorry, you have no experience to say a thing like that. You're welcome to say what you want, Ben, and at the end of the day, if you step a foot out of line, myself and Landon will drag you through a court. That is your call.
Well, we don't want any, court.
But Jackson, I'm sorry, as you've heard from Ben, he is unwilling to do things. He is stepping over boundaries and lines. The post he made earlier from his foundation-linked and mod-linked account crossed lines as well. It ended up as people posting the foundation versus Moolah. That is not what public sentimentality is. And Ben, you can roll your eyes all you want. That is what the public are saying. And as you've seen, the public is not siding with you. They are happy with what we have answered. They are not asking for more. Our investors have all posted essentially telling you to shut up. Because at the end of the day, our investors, who are the people we have an obligation to, are happy.
The incentives are really poorly aligned. I really had nothing to gain by trying to expose him, whereas he stood to make potentially $1 million if he could get me to shut up.
At the end of the day, you are just a random member of the public in the eyes of the law. You have no association whatsoever. And you are crossing lines of what people consider acceptable. Any other company by now would have hung up this call and told you to fuck off. We have done everything we are obligated to do. We have done more than that. If you want to cause a problem and cause trouble in any way against the company, I'll be quite honest, Ben, you'll be dragged through a court of law so hard you will not know what hit you. I highly suggest that you seek the advice of a lawyer before you do a single thing.
Right. Well, I'm not planning on doing anything harassing. I'm just genuinely asking...
I don't think you understand how far harassment defamation stretches. I honestly suggest you speak to a legal professional. Okay. I don't think you realise the consequences of what you seem to be doing. And at the end of the day, you can continue doing what you want. But if you do things that in the US and UK are deemed to breach any law, I'll be quite honest, to protect, not myself, but to protect my employees and the investors and the customers of our company, I will take whatever action is necessary to end it.
You warned this community, and pretty much universally the reaction was, shut up, you're ruining the party.
Yeah, well, just to clarify real quickly, like you mentioned, there definitely were other people within Dogecoin who backed me up and who expressed concerns. And also, I just want to make clear that Ryan never explicitly threatened anybody with physical harm, but there was a sense shared by other people that he had kind of made vague threats about, do whatever he needs to do that we interpreted that way.
From my perspective, if Jackson doesn't get access to some sort of proof that there was a security audit previous to now, then I'm going to resign in protest, and I will, take whatever steps I think is necessary to protect the community.
What steps are you trying to take? Tell us exactly what threats you're making, Ben.
I'm not making any threats.
Well, no, you take appropriate steps. What steps will there be? Because let me tell you how it will go down. The laws in the US and the UK in regards to defaming a company are very draconian. If you say a single thing bad about a company without a shred of proof, you're fucked. In the United Kingdom and the United States, harassment is construed as 2 attempts of unwanted contacts or more when you've been told not to. So I'm telling you now, Ben, you are not to contact myself or any member of my company. If you do that more than twice, it becomes a criminal matter. And I can tell you this, as I said, my background is legal psychology. I have a very, very thorough grounding of criminal law. And you're welcome to confirm that with a lawyer if you want. You'll spend your money. They'll tell you the same.
Look, I'm not. Look, I think.
Well, Jackson, at the end of the day, as Landon confirmed, him saying he will resign in process and take whatever steps he's necessary, that is a threat. Myself and Landon are recording this call for that reason. If he does anything so much as construed as not appropriate, we will deal with it accordingly. Because at the end of the day, we have a business to protect, and we will take whatever steps are necessary to do that. Demanding personal ID from me now moves into the realm of harassment. This is now the second time I am warning you of that. I have 2 witnesses here and a recorded conversation. So I don't think you understand cause and effect, Ben, at the end of the day. So the ball is in your court. You want to fuck up your life by doing something stupid, by all means go ahead, because at the end of the day, it doesn't mean a thing to me.
Even up to a month ago, I was still wondering, is this really a scam or is this just absolutely reckless behavior? now that he's got such a well-documented history of fraud after fraud after fraud, that question isn't really there.